Guys, today another important session which is 1000 MCQs, most important questions from NEET which is previously did ask. That questions we have to discuss today's session. Okay? Yes. The first question, approximately 70% of carbon dioxide absorbed by blood will be transported into the lungs. Yeah, as by carbaminohemoglobin or by binding to RBC or to form the dissolved gas in the molecules and as bicarbonate. Okay, which one of the following is right? Here we mentioned as bicarbonate. Okay, bicarbonate it is about 70%. They can transport. Okay, binding form with the binding form which is carbaminohemoglobin. It is binding form which is 23 to 25%. Okay, yeah. Dissolved form which is only 7%. Okay, yeah. The dissolved nature more than oxygen, mean oxygen is less and CO2 is more in the water. Dissolved nature is more than oxygen. Okay, if come to the next question. Yeah, see, this is the most innovative question from the PYQ. People who have migrated from the place to an area adjoining Rohtang Pass about 6 months back. This is the most important question, most innovative question from the respiration. This is Rohtang Pass, mean it is the hilly area, hills area in the Himalayas. This is, don't forget, about 6 months back. This word is keyword. Keyword, 6 months back. They migrated from plains to hills. Plains to hills. Okay. So, just look at here. Are not physically fit to the play games like football? No, not at all relevant to the topic. Have more RBC, their hemoglobin has lower binding to oxygen, lower affinity to oxygen. Of course, we will discuss that. Option C, have usual RBC count. RBC count is same like normal, and but their hemoglobin has very high affinity to bind with oxygen. Suffer from, next option, suffer from altitude sickness. The symptoms likely to, fatigue and all. Guys, it is AIPMT 2012. Yeah, altitude sickness also there of course, but it is about a week. About a week, 1 week, not about 6 months. After 6 months, this after 6 months, right? The problem is going to take place after 6 months, these conditions. But altitude sickness is about only 6 days. Okay, so this is okay, but this is not absolute right answer after 6 months. This is the right answer. Have more RBCs, their hemoglobin, lower binding affinity with oxygen, that hemoglobin. This is the most important. This is the answer. Guys, normally RBCs are 5 million, okay, mm3 millimeter cubic per millimeter. That is high altitude people. There is a high altitude is partial pressure is very low. Of course, if you go high altitude, there is a decrease of partial pressure that leads to the need generate more RBCs. Our bone marrow, there is a hormone which is erythropoietin. Erythropoietin is the hormone which is produced, more hormone. More hormone, guys, I will explain in the next slide. That is Okay, yeah. If they enter into the high altitude, there is a physiological adaptations are there in their body after 6 months. Mean 6 months will take for the adaptation of the physiology conditions. This is the count of the RBC will increase. Okay, RBC count will increase, guys. Okay, RBC count will increase. That is polycythemia. Polycythemia, most important. Polycythemia means increase of RBC. If they move to the high altitude after 6 months, there is a RBC increase to carry more oxygen with the low condition, bonding condition. Of course, if they went high altitude, there is a decrease of partial pressure of oxygen. Decrease of partial pressure of oxygen. When partial pressure decrease, partial pressure of oxygen decrease, it is affinity of hemoglobin with RBC, hemoglobin with oxygen will be decreased, right? At the same time, this condition apply to this. Okay, yeah, that leads to the oxyhemoglobin binding affinity will decrease. Okay, guys, listen carefully. Cool. So that is O2 released easily. O2 released easily in the tissue called Bohr effect. Bohr effect is what? Bohr effect nothing but there is a loss of oxygen in the tissue due to low partial pressure of oxygen. Yeah, ventilation will increase. Ventilation will increase in the high altitude ratio. Guys, just this is the keyword where high altitude hypoxia. Hypoxia means low oxygen rate. Low oxygen rate is hypoxia. Okay, and that leads to the EP, erythropoietin. Erythropoietin for oxygen. I will explain it. That leads to the RBC count increase. Okay, hemoglobin binding with affinity will increase. Okay, that helps to the unloading of oxygen in the tissue. Bohr effect. Just look at here. There is a erythropoietin. Erythropoietin in the kidney to encourage it will be encourage bone marrow. Bone marrow automatically produce RBCs more. RBCs more produce. This condition is called polycythemia. Polycythemia. Got it? If the plain located areas people are normal RBC count which is 5 million, okay, MM3. If come to the high altitude, it will increase the RBC count for MM3 is 8 million. Due to this condition, who can encourage erythropoietin, they can tells to bone marrow to produce more RBCs, that is polycythemia. If they increase more, they can binding with the oxygen. Okay, with the where the high altitude is low pressure of oxygen leads to the binding affinity will decrease. In that condition, more RBC produce, more hemoglobin produce, more binding affinity will increase. This is the condition going to take place. This is high innovative question from the NEET. Okay, next question. Bulk of carbon dioxide released from the body tissue into the blood is present as. Tissue produce carbon dioxide, where the site is production of carbon dioxide. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is the tissue, guys. Okay. Tissue utilize oxygen and release carbon dioxide here itself. Oxygen utilize and release carbon dioxide in the tissue. If it is accumulate in the cell, there is a difference of pH value of the blood. If it is accumulate in the tissue, that is going to become a toxicity in the tissue. That should be eliminated in the form of like 3 forms, guys. This is the carbon dioxide should be eliminated 3 forms. One is they can directly dissolves in the plasma about 7%, and some carbon dioxides they can directly attach to the hemoglobin, bonding, that can be bond with hemoglobin, that is carbaminohemoglobin. Carbaminohemoglobin mean they can attach, this is the hemoglobin, guys. Hemoglobin head part, heme, tail part is globin. This carbon dioxide to attach the tail part, directly attach, how much percentage, which is 23%, they can attach directly, carry forward into the lungs to release there in the carbon dioxide, and 70% as bicarbonate, guys, 70% as bicarbonate. Carbon dioxide which is produced in the tissue, they can react with H2O to release H2CO3. This is carbonic acid. In this condition, the blood pH will be decreased, and this carbonic acid in the presence of carbonic anhydride, it is leads to form H plus HCO3 minus. This is the bicarbonate, okay, that is exit from the RBC into the plasma. In the plasma they can carry forward into the lungs. In the lungs there is a partial pressure will decrease. In that condition this bicarbonate again to form carbon dioxide. This is the reversible reaction going to take place in the lungs to release as a carbon dioxide as in the exhalation of mechanism of breathing. Okay, it is the way which is 70%, guys. Okay, yeah. Next question. Yeah, what is true about RBCs in the human? Okay, they transport about 80% of oxygen only. The rest will be transported dissolved form. Of course, absolutely wrong answer. They transport by 99% of oxygen. That is also wrong. They carry about 20 to 25%, which is CO2, of course, in the bonding form, and they do not carry CO2 at all. Okay, what nonsense. Yeah, this option is wrong. Yeah, just look at here. They transport about 80% oxygen. Is RBCs, they can transport RBC. Okay, I will give you clear information regarding this. This is the blood vessel. Okay. This is RBC in the blood vessel. This is hemoglobin in the RBC, 4 chains. Around the RBC there is a plasma. This is plasma around the RBC, which is oxygen generated here in the lungs, which is enter into the blood, okay, some amount of oxygen which is enter into the RBC hemoglobin, they can bind. 97% they carry forward, 97% they can carry forward by the hemoglobin which is RBC, and 3% they can dissolve in the plasma, they can exit out, 3% in the dissolved nature. So, first option is absolutely wrong. Second is 20, they can transport 99%, no, only 97%, they can transport. And third option, they can carry about 20, CO2 carry forward with the 20 to 25%, which is CO2 produced in the tissue. In the tissue, oxygen utilized, CO2 produce. This CO2, 22% directly they can attach to the tail part of the hemoglobin, they can carry forward about 20 to 25% binding form, they can call binding form. This is absolutely right answer. Yeah, D is absolutely worthless option. Okay, yes. Next question. Yeah, hemoglobin of human fetus. This is the also innovative question. Hemoglobin of human fetus. Okay, adult hemoglobin is different, fetus hemoglobin is different. Okay, if come to the options, it is affinity for the oxygen in the same as that of adults. Yeah, affinity mean binding with oxygen. Okay, and second option, it is the slower affinity of oxygen than of adult. Third option, it has higher affinity of oxygen that of an adult. And option D, has only 2 protein subunits instead of 4. Hemoglobin actually 4, okay, in the fetus 4, in the adults 4, same as it is. Third option is the right answer. It has higher affinity for the oxygen than adult. Of course, guys, just look at here, there is oxygen which is binding with the hemoglobin, that is the affinity. Okay. So, if come to the adults, adults take the oxygen from the atmosphere, and if oxygen enter into the lungs, from the lungs the oxygen which is enter into the blood, there is a blood hemoglobin, they can catch the oxygen, that is affinity. If come to the fetus, fetus is there in the mother, okay, mother already placenta has oxygen, they can take the direct oxygen from the placenta, that leads to the higher affinity than adult. Okay, adult will take the oxygen from the atmosphere, fetus they can take the already generated oxygen in the mother blood. Okay, that is higher affinity, right? Yes. This is slide. Features, affinity of oxygen, fetal hemoglobin is 2 alpha, 2 gamma chains. This is the important, guys, for question. We are expecting question, this question NEET. Okay, yeah, this is the important, innovative and very chances to get ask any exam. Okay, yeah, the fetal hemoglobin HbF, hemoglobin F mean fetal, HbA hemoglobin adult. Okay, key differences, structure, if come to the fetal, this is alpha chains to and gamma chains, guys, this is alpha chains and this is gamma chain, head part, tail part. Okay, head is this is heme part, tail is the globin part. If come to the fetus, these two are alpha chains and these two are delta chains, guys, gamma chains, alpha chains and gamma chains. If come to the adults, two alpha chains, two beta chains. This is adult, this is fetus. Fetus is alpha and gamma chains, adult is alpha and beta chains, two alpha, two beta. Affinity is higher in the fetus because of they can directly take oxygen from the mother blood, which is lower as compared with fetus. The adults is lower affinity with the hemoglobin. Yeah, this is mother blood, this tissue. Okay, yeah, guys, this is the most important question. Okay, yeah, next question. In which part of the respiratory system does exchange with the blood occur? Yeah, trachea, bronchi, alveolus, alveoli and larynx. Okay, these are the conduction phase. Trachea, bronchi and these guys are conduction phase. Conduction phase of the gas. Alveoli is the respiratory site. This is direct question. We did discuss in the respiration, breathing and exchange of gases, right? This is the direct question. Okay? Yeah. Next. Okay. Yeah. Arrange the respiratory process in order. Respiration process is what? Okay. This is time consuming question. Okay. First, diffusion across the alveolus, diffusion in the tissue. Okay. Transport by blood, ventilation and utilization of cell. First ventilation, right? First ventilation. Ventilation nothing but breathing. Pulmonary ventilation, breathing. Okay. After that, first breathing, right? After that, there is gas enter into the tissue, no. Blood, no. And alveolus, they immediately enter into the alveoli. From the alveoli, they enter into the blood, right? Blood. From the blood, they can reach tissue, right? Tissue. From the tissue utilize the oxygen, right? E. Tissue utilize the oxygen. Okay. This is the order, guys. Okay. Yeah, if come to the next question. Yeah, which of the following is would not shift oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve into the right? This is also important question. What is oxyhemoglobin curve? Okay, this is partial pressure, oxygen, saturation of hemoglobin, saturation of hemoglobin, increase the temperature, increase the CO2, increase the this chemical which is DPG and increase the pH, which is shift rightward. Guys, you have to think this is sigmoid curve. If it is leftward, it is rightward shift. Leftwards is the lungs, rightward is the tissue. What happened? Tissue is the oxygen, this is the tissue. Tissue utilize oxygen. They can break down glucose C6H12O6.
అందుకే ఛార్జింగ్ ఎక్కట్లేదు 2 రోజుల నుంచి.
ATP release, and there is a temperature release, and CO2 release. Temperature release, if the temperature release, okay, temperature, increase the temperature, which one of the following is not? Identify not is the important. Temperature is the right answer, right? If the temperature release, right word, left words lungs, guys, lungs. Okay, this is the tissue, right word. Right word always tissue happen. What is going to happen in the tissue? In the they can the curve is shift to right word based on tissue. Okay, in the tissue temperature generate. In the tissue CO2 kuda generate, right? That CO2 which is generated in the tissue combined with H2O to release bicarbonate like H2CO3. H2CO3 is the acid, right? Acid. This acid will pH decrease, right? So increase CO2 is released here in the tissue. This is also shift to rightward. This is also shift to rightward, this acid. Increase pH, no, here acid release mean decrease pH. pH decrease in the rightward, increase pH is leftward. Increase pH increase is leftward shift. Rightward shift is decrease pH, acid release. This 3 is wrong option. This increase pH mean it is rightward, so not leftward. This is the right answer. I hope you guys understand. Yeah, next question. Which structure is entirely cartilaginous to helping prevent airways collapse? Sorry, that is actually, guys, trachea, human trachea is the conduction phase. The trachea, which is this is trachea. Trachea further divided into bronchi. Trachea further divided into bronchi. Bronchi further divided into bronchioles up to the T5, thoracic 5. Okay, this is trachea, which is before trachea. This is nasal chamber. This is not. Okay, larynx is before trachea. There is a pharynx. After pharynx, there is a larynx. There is a sound box, larynx. Larynx. Okay, this is pharynx is before pharynx, epiglottis. Glottis, sorry. This is the respiratory tract. If the oxygen which is enter through these areas, oxygen enter, trachea will be going to take any pressure, it can be damaged. Okay, in that condition they can protect by the layer. There is a cartilaginous layers, or one side they can incomplete cartilaginous layers are there, dorsally, ventrally completed, dorsally incompleted. This is the cartilage we can call hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage. is there in the trachea. Hyaline cartilage is there in the trachea. Incomplete, dorsally incomplete hyaline cartilage mean incomplete rings. Okay, this is the answer. Yeah, next. The respiratory rhyme center in the human primarily regulated by a center located in the. Guys, this is also important question. This is important question. Okay, yeah, cerebrum, medulla oblongata, pons and hypothalamus. Guys, you must know these parts where they located. Okay, if come to the brain, okay, this is cerebrum. Where hypothalamus located? This is the third ventricle in the brain. Above the third ventricle, there is a hypothalamus. And this is the thalamus, center the third ventricle, thalamus, and below that, sorry, this is epithalamus, guys. This is cerebrum. This is epithalamus. We can call it as pineal gland. Pineal gland, epithalamus. This is thalamus, middle. This down part is hypothalamus. Down part of the third ventricle is hypothalamus. Below hypothalamus is pituitary gland. This epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus, these parts we can call diencephalon. Diencephalon. Okay, guys, just listen carefully. This is the midbrain. This is hindbrain. Hindbrain has two parts. One part is pons and one part is medulla. Pons and medulla. This is medulla, this is pons. Okay. Yeah, cerebrum is nothing but this is the outer cortex region of cerebral hemisphere called cerebrum. Diencephalon, there is a pons and medulla oblongata in the hindbrain. Hypothalamus is the part of the diencephalon which is located third ventricle, below the third ventricle. So this medulla oblongata, which is can regulate the medullary rhyme center, respiratory rhyme center, we can call medullary rhyme center, which is located in the pons and medulla, called medulla oblongata. I hope you guys clear about it. Okay? Yes. Yeah, next question. Yeah, guys, this is the NEET World, okay, which is provided special course for you guys for the amount is which is 333. Okay, we offering the everything like every classes, and we will provide the online NEET, okay, courses, all courses with the material, effective questions, okay, everything is on the track line of the NEET World. You have to carry forward through the this course, guys, okay, which is 11th standard and 12th standard overall, repeated long term also, okay, which is about very low cost, which is 3333 cost, okay. Yeah, I hope you guys understand. This is the step towards the medicine, okay. Thank you.